Time now to turn our attention to the international newspapers. Bouteflika Laurent is back on set to take us through, notably the reactions online and in the papers following that resignation of Algeria's longtime leader, Abdelaziz Bouteflika. Dipti.
We're starting with some of the foreign papers first. L'Orient Le Jour, the Lebanese daily, wonders what happens now on its front page. It says Algeria is turning the page on Bouteflika, but many questions are still unanswered. Who will oversee this transition to democracy, and will there indeed be fair and free elections in the future? The Swiss paper Le Temps going with a front-page cartoon from Chapat today, a statue of Bouteflika being taken away rather unceremoniously after, quote, 6 tumultuous decades of his political career, sort of inspired perhaps by that statue of Saddam Hussein that was felled after his demise.
And how about the newspapers in Algeria?
Well, Algerian, let's start with El Mujahid, which is a paper close to the government that says, rather factually, that the president has agreed to resign. Underneath him, though, is Gaid Salah, who's the army chief, and he's promising that the army will support the people and ensure their needs and demands are met. For this paper, it's the beginning of the end of the whole system in Algeria. Let's show you some papers that are more critical of the government. Liberté Algérie, Bouteflika, la fin, Bouteflika, the end, it says quite simply on its front page. And unlike these papers, El Khabar is actually going with a picture not of Bouteflika today, but rather of the crowds, those what it calls a tsunami of peaceful protesters who've helped bring in, usher this change in the country after 20 years of Bouteflika reign.
Now, Bouteflika, the first newspaper you talked about there said for them it's the beginning of the end of the whole system, but indeed there's a lot of scepticism, or at least question, as to whether or not that's true.
Exactly, and that's a message at least from this writer at the investigative website Algérie Part, who actually calls it a coup orchestrated by the military and the military trying to justify by going through the constitution. In fact, the writer slams Gaid Salah, the army chief, for now trying to be on the side of the people by condemning fraud and corruption, when in reality he's covered up for that very system for the past 20 years while it served his interests. Let's show you this cartoon, not from the Algerian press, but the Moroccan press. This cartoonist, sort of shows that these changes were instigated nonetheless, certainly by those protests, but ushered in very quickly by the military. You have Bouteflika's wheelchair sliding right off Gaid Salah's military visor.
OK, well, let's move on to some other news now, Bouteflika, and also dominating some headlines today. Lots of excitement around Chicago's new mayor, Lightfoot.
Yeah, well, this was a second round of voting, Eve, and both the candidates are female and African-American, so we knew that the next mayor of Chicago would be an unprecedented choice. But Lightfoot's landslide victory is an historic moment because it was also unexpected. The former federal prosecutor is very much the anti-establishment candidate. She's black, she's gay, she's female, making her election perhaps even more historic. And the Chicago Tribune says that in a city plagued by high crime rates and low clearance of crime cases, tackling crime will be one of her biggest tasks. Over at the Chicago Sun-Times, the editors warn Lightfoot, I quote, "You won't be universally loved. You'll catch a lot of hell. It comes with doing the right thing, even when that's hard, like possibly raising taxes or building affordable housing where it's not wanted. But they say you've made history, Lightfoot. Now it's time to make more."
And as you say, starting with a sizable support base, 74% of that vote. But finally, Bouteflika, you're going to end with a look at the British papers, and we can all imagine what they're reacting to. It's the latest from Theresa May. She's now reaching out to the opposition to help break the Brexit deadlock.
That's right. She's crossed the political aisle, so to speak, to reach out to Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn. "Help me, Jeremy," the Daily Mail says. I got to say, it's a little bit condescending on its front page. I quote the paper saying, "Desperate Theresa May begging Corbyn to help rescue her deal." The Daily Mail says, calls it Theresa's last stand, noting the anger around her decision to reach out to Corbyn, which essentially delays Brexit again and kills off the possibility of a hard Brexit, a move that the Mail calls a, quote, dramatic gamble. A lot of hyperboles in the press today. And while you have Metro going with this headline, which I quite like, it's just the two of us. A nice play on words. Jez, obviously, a nickname for Jeremy. But let's end with this cartoon from the Times today. May reaches out. She's reaching out to open the most important cabinet ever. That's the liquor cabinet for a stiff drink, or maybe three in that case.
It's one move that I could actually understand there, Diptyka. Thanks a lot for that wrap-up of the international papers. Time for us to take a quick break now, but we're back with all the latest updates in just a few minutes, so don't go anywhere. But it's